Welcome back, Sebastian here. So today I'm going to be doing my preview for the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, second half of our doubleheader to open the 2025 F1 season. So first, starting this preview off right away, we're going to take a look at the track and some stats about the Shanghai International Circuit. So 16 corners, 2 DRS zones, 1 down the main straight into turn 1, and then of course the one on the back straight going into turn 14. I believe one of the longest, if not the longest straights on the F1 calendar. Now, in terms of the lap length, 5.451 kilometers, so very, very similar to the track we just went to in Melbourne, and we're expected to have 56 laps of racing on Sunday. Race lap record, quite an oldie, this one. 132.238 set by Michael Schumacher back in 2004, which also happens to be the first year of this track. The average speed of that lap, 213 kilometers an hour, which is the 18th fastest out of 24. So again, out of all 24 tracks on this year's calendar, it is one of the slower ones in terms of average speed. Now, for downforce rating, 0.55, so medium downforce track, quite a few long straights, but also quite a few corners. So this is a track that will reward aero efficiency, and because of that, and also because of the corner tendency being quite middle of the range, good mixture of slow speed corners, fast corners, and kind of medium speed corners as well. This will be, I think, a really good test and a really good kind of view of our first look at the pecking order for this year's championship, as Albert Park is generally seen as a pretty unique track, street circuit and all that. So very, very excited to see what the pecking order is this weekend. Now, in terms of full throttle percentage, 57%, so not that high. Again, a lot of braking zones, a lot of corners where you can't just go flat out through them. Now, for pole conversion rate, 55%, so again, a little bit on the low side here. This is a track that's pretty new, it's pretty wide, so you can overtake here. And of course, for this pole conversion rate, it is from 2010, so it does not include the refueling era, as it were. Rookie out qualifying percentage, 36.7, which is ninth on the calendar. So again, a little bit better than Australia, which makes sense since this is a purpose-built track. And again, not quite as tricky as Melbourne, I would say, to drive. But that being said, it's also a track that will be brand new to all the rookies. None of them have driven this track before, as the support series, Formula 2, Formula 3 generally don't come to Shanghai because it is quite expensive. So again, this will be the 6 rookies. This will be their first time driving at the track. So again, pretty big challenge there. Safety car profitability, 76%. So again, despite the fact that it's a purpose-built track, we do tend to have safety cars here more often than not. So that's definitely something to keep in mind come Saturday's race. And like I said, last slide, first race was 2004, so 21 years ago. Tires for this weekend, the middle 3 tires in the range, medium C4, or soft C4, medium C3, and then the hard C2. Now, taking a look at the weekend schedule. Now, last weekend, rain was obviously the big kind of factor that, everyone talked about going into the weekend, and how that was, a massive challenge for the rookies, especially for the 3 making their F1 debuts. Now, this weekend, another big challenge, and that is the fact that it is a sprint weekend. So they only have one free practice session before they go right into sprint qualifying. So for Friday's schedule, FP1, 11:30 in the morning local time in Shanghai, and then sprint qualifying, 3:30 in the afternoon. Track conditions for sprint qualifying, 22 degrees and sunny, so no risk of rain there. Saturday, sprint will be at 11 a.m. local time with qualifying at 3 p.m. local time. And temperature for the sprint, for the main qualifying session, 23 degrees and sunny. So Friday, Saturday, weather conditions pretty similar. So unlike last weekend in Australia, where Friday was pretty cool, Saturday was very, very warm, the Friday conditions should be pretty representative of what we will see later in qualifying on Saturday. So again, you're not going to have to worry about completely different track conditions, air conditions, temperature conditions as well. Now for Sunday, as of the recording of this video, which I'm doing on Wednesday, it seems like probably not going to rain. According to Google, it was basically 10% chance. And so likely going to be cloudy, I would say, for the Grand Prix. It says scattered showers. 23 degrees as well for the start of the Grand Prix, which will be at 3 p.m. local time on Sunday. Now, taking a look at last year's race, this was, of course, won by Max Verstappen. Lando Norris on the podium as well. I believe that would have been his second podium of the season, yes, after Australia. And third was Sergio Perez in what turned out to be his last podium of his F1 career, assuming he doesn't come back next year, for example. But yeah, not a super exciting Grand Prix from what I remember. Really, the two big incidents were the two safety cars that came out. The one that came out because Bottas' Sauber broke down, because that's of course what it did for most of last year, or at least it felt like it did. And then that of course brought the safety car out, and then we had our big crash between Stroll and Ricciardo. Stroll having his torpedo moment, smashing into the back of Ricciardo, damaging both of their cars. I think Ricciardo was forced to retire from that Grand Prix. Not a super eventful race. I do think the qualifying was more interesting. I think it was raining, so we had a wet qualifying session that was pretty exciting, either for the sprint or for the main Grand Prix. But nonetheless, the main Grand Prix itself not super exciting from what I remember. And this is a track that sometimes we can have really, really good Grand Prix here. I remember 2018 being a really fun Grand Prix to watch. Even like races like 2010, 2012, I think were somewhat interesting. But unfortunately, you can also have races, right after 2018, we had 2019, and that was one of the more boring Grand Prix of that season. So despite the fact that you can overtake at this track, it is a mixed bag when it comes to good races. And we'll really just have to see what comes on Sunday. Now, for best qualifiers, worst qualifiers, this was actually kind of funny. Last weekend, the three drivers had best qualifiers, three drivers had worst qualifiers. Both of them had the three in the best qualifiers category, had great weekends. Norris, Albon, and Tsunoda. I know Tsunoda in the end didn't go very well, but he had really good pace. And then in the worst category, we had Leclerc. Who else was there? I'm trying to remember who else was there, but I know Leclerc was there. I think Alonso as well, and both of them, neither of them had great weekends. So it'll be interesting to see if that sticks, if that trend continues this weekend. Now, unfortunately, because we had basically a 4-year period where we didn't have any Grand Prix in China, there's only I think 9 drivers on the current grid who've done 3 or more races at this track, so not a ton of data to go off of. For best qualifier, Fernando Alonso, 12% more than his career average. His median qualifying percentage is 0.267 seconds. Number 2 is Charles Leclerc, plus 2%, not a whole lot. And his median out qualifying percentage is 8 thousandths of a second. So again, almost nothing. I think for Leclerc, he's only done 3 races here, so very, very small sample size. Now, for third best, I kid you not, third best is actually Esteban Ocon with a -10. Not necessarily a big surprise that Ocon would perhaps be good at this track, but the fact that -10 is your third best compared to his career average, just a very, very strange stats there, which suggests more than anything that this track is a bit of an outlier, and sometimes the weaker teammates can actually outqualify their teammates around Shanghai. Now, in terms of median out qualifying percentage, positive 0.126. Now, for worst qualifiers, again, this is kind of where some of the small sample sizes kind of skews things a bit. But for worst qualifier, it's actually Pierre Gasly, -63%. He's never out-qualified a teammate at this track. And in those 3 sessions that he's done, median gap was a positive 0.24. Number 2, not a big surprise, Lance Stroll, -24%. Positive 244 is his median out qualifying gap. Number 3 is Lewis Hamilton, -13%. So his qualifying percentage at this track, 13% worse than his career average. But on the whole, his median qualifying gap against all of his teammates is in the negative 0.01. Now, taking a look at the model predictions for qualifying, and again, this has been adjusted to reflect the first race of the season. So again, this will continue to change for the whole season as more and more data is added. Now, for 10 drivers that are predicted to outwin the qualifying head-to-head, Norris, Hamilton, Verstappen, Russell, Alonso. And then Gasly, Ocon, Tsunoda, Albon, and Bortolo again predicted to qualify Hulkenberg. We'll see if that one comes true. I know that was a bit of a wild one that somehow came true last weekend, but I doubt that will be 2 weekends in a row that the rookie will qualify Hulkenberg, but we shall see. Now, in terms of predictions for the Grand Prix itself, it's really hard to change. It's really hard to kind of go against what I did last weekend, which is basically a McLaren 1-2, Norris ahead of Piastri. I think Norris's qualifying pace is, strong enough that, it should be able to probably will qualify Piastri. I think race pace as well is pretty strong. And again, I think it will realistically take something, happening mechanical, strategic, otherwise, to have Piastri in front of Norris. But that being said, we shall see. And I think their pace was so strong in that first race this season. I think predicting a 1-2 for them is pretty reasonable. Now for third, I'm going to stick with my prediction from Australia and predict Max Verstappen to round out the podium in third. I think assuming Red Bull can get the car into the right operating window, it seems like that operating window that they're able to get the car into, the pace is pretty well clear of both the Mercedes and the Ferraris, at least in Max Verstappen's hands. I can't say the same for Lawson, unfortunately, but in Max Verstappen's hands, it does seem to be a bit clear of the other two cars. So it does, like, from, again, very, very small sample size of one race, but it does feel very reminiscent of the 2020 season, where the podium was basically guaranteed to be Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, unless one of the three had some kind of issue. I hope that's not this kind of season that we end up having. Hope that we have multiple teams fighting for wins consistently. But again, based on a sample size of one race, that's kind of what it looks like we're in for this year. So there you go. There is my preview for the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix. Looking forward to the race quite a bit. First time at a proper purpose-built track, and again, I think it'll be much more representative of the pecking order this season than Australia was, of course, with the circuit, but then also the rain as well on Sunday, definitely threw a spanner in the works. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.